The stars were dying. Admiral Una stood at the bridge of her flagship, watching another system blink out of existence on the holographic map. 300 cycles of peace had made the galaxy soft. 300 cycles of trade, diplomacy, and cooperation had made them forget what true danger looked like. Now they remembered. The void. Swarm had come from the darkness between galaxies. No one knew where they originated. No one knew what they wanted. They simply consumed. Entire planets were stripped bare in days. Fleets that had protected civilizations for thousands of years were torn apart like paper in a storm. The swarm did not negotiate. The swarm did not stop. The swarm only fed Una's fleet carried 60,000 Valeri refugees. They were all that remained of a civilization that once spanned 12 star systems. Her people had been scholars, artists, and philosophers. They had spent millennia studying the mysteries of the universe. Now they were running for their lives in ships held together. By hope and desperate repairs, the communication panel lit up with an incoming transmission. Una recognized the frequency immediately. It was Council Station, the heart of the Galactic Concord. She had visited it many times in better days. It was supposed to be the safest place in known space. Elder Tay appeared on the screen. He was old, even by Valari standards. His skin had turned pale gray with age, and his 4 eyes were tired. He was the last surviving member of the High Council. The others had stayed behind to buy time for the evacuation ships. They were all dead now. Admiral Una Tay said. His voice was calm, but Una could see fear hiding behind his words. I have reviewed all remaining options. Every safe zone has been compromised. The Korath homeworld fell yesterday. The mirroring colonies were consumed this morning. There is nowhere left to run. Una felt cold spread through her body. She had known this moment was coming. She had just hoped it would come later. What about the outer territories? The uncharted regions? Explored and rejected. The swarm moves faster than our scouts. By the time we reach any new system, they will already be there. Tay paused. He seemed to be struggling with something. There is one option remaining. One place the Concord never explored. One sector that was sealed off and forgotten 200 cycles ago. Which sector? Tay sent a data file. Una opened it and felt her blood turn to ice. Sector 7G. The quarantine zone. The forbidden territory that every spacefaring species learned to avoid from their first day in space. The warning attached to it was the oldest in galactic records. Classification: Deathworld origin. Species: Homo sapiens. Status: avoid at all costs. You cannot be serious, Una said. The humans. You want us to flee to the humans? I want us to survive, Tay replied. The humans have not left their sector in 2 centuries. They were confined there after the first contact incident. Whatever they have become since then, they are our only remaining option. Una remembered the stories. Every child in the galaxy knew them. Humans came from a planet called Earth, a world so hostile that it should have killed everything on it 1,000 times over. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere was filled with corrosive oxygen. The weather could destroy cities. Predators lurked in every environment. And somehow, against all logic, humans had not just survived there, they had thrived. When humans first met the galactic community, they had been curious and friendly. But then came the war with the Trillic Empire. The Trillic had attacked human colonies, expecting easy conquest. What they found instead was something that terrified the entire galaxy. Humans did not surrender. Humans did not retreat. Humans fought with a savagery that no other species could match. They used weapons that were considered war crimes. They sacrificed themselves in suicide attacks. They kept fighting even when victory was impossible. The Trilok Empire, which had conquered 100 worlds, was nearly destroyed in 3 years. The Galactic Concord had intervened. They forced a peace treaty and then quietly sealed humanity away in their home sector. The official reason was protection of galactic stability. The real reason was fear. Pure, simple fear. Now Una was being asked to take her people to those same monsters. Elder Tay, the humans eat other living creatures. They consume the flesh of animals. Some of them even consume plants while the plants are still alive. They sleep for hours in a state of complete unconsciousness, leaving themselves totally vulnerable. They survived a planet that tried to kill them every single day. What makes you think they will help us instead of eating us? Tay smiled sadly. Because the swarm will eat us for certain. The humans might eat us. I prefer uncertainty to certainty in this case. Yuna wanted to argue, but she could not. She looked at the star map again. Another system had gone dark. The swarm was getting closer. Behind her, her crew waited in silence. They were scientists and teachers, merchants and farmers. They were not warriors. They had never needed to be. The galaxy had been safe for 300 cycles. The galaxy was not safe anymore. How long until we reach Sector 7G? Yuna asked. 47 hours at maximum speed, her navigation officer replied. But Admiral, the quarantine beacons will detect us long before we arrive. The humans will know we are coming, Good Yuna said. I want them to know. I want them to see that we come in peace, or at least in desperation. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. 60,000 souls waited to hear her words. Parents held their children. The elderly clutched their few remaining possessions. The young stared at screens, wondering if they would live to see another cycle. Says Admiral Yuna, I will not lie to you. Our situation is desperate. The Concord has fallen. Every safe zone has been lost. We have one option remaining, and it is not a good one. We are going to the human sector. We are going to ask the Deathworlders for help. She paused, letting the words sink in. She could imagine the fear spreading through the ships. Humans were the monsters that parents used to scare children into behaving. Now they were supposed to be saviors. I know what you are thinking, Yuna continued. I know the stories. I know the fear. But I also know this. The swarm will kill us all. The humans might kill us, but they also might help us. And right now, that small chance is all we have left. She ended the transmission and turned back to the star map. Another system went dark. The swarm was feeding. Set course for Sector 7G, she ordered. Maximum speed. The fleet turned toward the forbidden sector. Toward the monsters. Toward humanity behind them, the darkness grew. The Valari fleet dropped out of hyperspace near a small gray moon. Beyond it hung a blue and green planet covered in swirling white clouds. It looked peaceful from this distance. It looked almost beautiful. Yuna knew better. That was Earth, the Deathworld. The planet that had created the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Admiral, her sensor officer said, voice shaking, we are being scanned. Multiple sources. I count over 300 vessels approaching our position. The entire Valari fleet had only 42 ships, and most of those were civilian transports with no weapons at all. If the humans wanted to destroy them, it would take less than 5 minutes. The human ships emerged from behind the moon. Yuna had seen images of human vessels in old archives, but those images were 2 centuries out of date. What she saw now was something else entirely. The ships were angular and brutal. They had no curves, no elegance, no beauty. They were machines built for one purpose: killing. Weapons covered every surface. Some of the guns were so large that Yuna could not understand how they worked. Dark metal holes absorbed light instead of reflecting it. They looked like predators. They looked hungry. We are being hailed, the communication officer said. Audio only. Open the channel. Voice filled the bridge. It was deep and calm, speaking in accented universal standard. Unidentified vessels. This is Captain Jin of the United Nations Space Force warship, Indomitable. You have entered restricted human territory. State your purpose immediately, or be destroyed. Yuna took a breath. Her translator was already working, but she had practiced this speech 100 times during the journey. She spoke slowly and clearly. Captain Jin, I am Admiral Yuna of the Valari refugee fleet. We are not invaders. We are not enemies. We are survivors. The Galactic Concord has fallen. A force called the Void Swarm is consuming the galaxy. We have nowhere else to go. We come to ask for shelter. We come to ask for help. Silence. The human ships continued to surround them, weapons still aimed. Yuna could feel her crew holding their breath. Transmit evidence of this swarm, Captain Jin said. Yuna nodded to her communication officer. They sent everything. Sensor recordings of swarm attacks, images of planets being consumed, video of fleets being torn apart, audio of dying civilizations sending their final messages. 2 months of horror compressed into a data package. The silence lasted longer this time. Yuna watched the human ships on her screen. They had stopped advancing, but their weapons were still hot. Then Captain Jin spoke again. His voice had changed. It was still calm, but there was something else in it now. Something that Yuna did not recognize. How many of them are coming? Yuna checked her latest intelligence reports. Based on our observations, the main swarm fleet contains approximately 9 billion individual organisms. Smaller hunting packs range from thousands to millions. They reproduce by consuming organic matter. Every planet they take makes them larger. Another pause. Then, to Yuna's complete shock, Captain Jin laughed. It was a strange sound. Valari did not laugh. The sound was rough and loud, almost like a bark. Yuna's crew looked at each other in confusion and fear. Was the human mocking them? Was he insane? Finally, Captain Jin said, "Something worth fighting." Yuna did not understand. "Captain, did you hear me? 9 billion organisms. They have destroyed 17 civilizations. They cannot be stopped." Admiral Yunajin replied, and now his voice was warm, almost friendly. "For 200 cycles, we have been stuck in this sector. We have been building. We have been preparing. We have been waiting for the galaxy to give us a reason to come out. Your Concord locked us away because they were afraid of what we might do. Well, now something worse has arrived, and you came to the right place." The human ships began to move again, but this time they were not attacking. They were forming an escort formation around the Valari fleet. "Follow us to Earth," Jin said. "Your people will be given shelter, food, and protection. In return, we will need everything you know about this swarm. How they move, how they fight, how they die." Yuna felt something she had not felt in months. Hope, small and fragile, but real. "Captain Jin, I must ask, why are you helping us? Your people were confined here by the Concord. We are part of the Concord. We were your enemies." Jin's response came quickly. "Were. That is the important word, Admiral. The galaxy that locked us away is gone now. The swarm ate it. What is left are survivors, like your people. And humans have a saying, 'The enemy of my enemy is my friend.'" The Valari fleet followed the human escort toward Earth. As they got closer, Yuna saw more ships, thousands of them, hidden behind moons, inside asteroid fields, in the shadows of space stations. The humans had not been idle during their confinement. They had been building an armada. They entered Earth's atmosphere and descended through layers of clouds. What Yuna saw below confirmed every terrifying story she had ever heard. The cities were massive, covering entire continents. Factories pumped smoke into the sky. Vehicles moved on ground roads at dangerous speeds. Oceans churned with storms that would destroy any Valari vessel. And everywhere there were humans. Billions of them. Walking, working, living on a planet that should have killed them all. Their transport landed at a military facility. Armed soldiers surrounded them immediately. Yuna stepped out of her ship and felt Earth's gravity pressing down on her. It was like carrying another person on her back. The air burned slightly in her lungs. The sun was too bright. The wind was too strong. A human woman walked toward them. She was small compared to the soldiers around her, but they all moved out of her way immediately. Her face was covered in scars. Her eyes were cold and calculating. "Admiral Yuna," the woman said. "I am General Hannah, Supreme Commander of the United Nations Space Force. Welcome to Earth. You are safe here." Yuna bowed in the Valari way. "General Hannah, my people are grateful. We did not expect such kindness from your species." Hannah smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator. "We are not being kind, Admiral. We are being practical." Your enemy is now our enemy, and we have been waiting for a real fight for a very long time. She turned and began walking toward a large building. Come, we have much to discuss. Your intelligence on the swarm will be valuable. In return, we will show you what 2 centuries of preparation looks like. Yuna followed the human general into the building. Behind her, Elder Tay and the other Valari refugees were being escorted to shelter. Children stared at the human soldiers with wide, frightened eyes. The soldiers stared back with curiosity and something that might have been pity. They had fled to the monsters, and the monsters had welcomed them. Now Yuna had to hope that these particular monsters were worse than the ones chasing them. General Hana led them through corridors made of gray metal. Human soldiers stood at every corner watching the aliens pass with eyes that showed no fear. These were not diplomats or scientists. These were warriors, born and trained for violence. Yuna tried to keep pace with the small human woman, but Earth's gravity made every step difficult. She was gasping for air within minutes. The oxygen-rich atmosphere burned in her lungs like fire. Hannah noticed and slowed down. Your species is not built for this world. Most are not. We will provide breathing assistance and gravity adjustment for your people. The children especially will need help. Thank you, Yuna managed. How do you survive here? The conditions are hostile to organic life, Anna shrugged. We do not know anything else. To us, this is normal. We did not realize how harsh our world was until we met other species. By then, it was too late. We had already become what we are. They entered a massive room filled with screens and holographic displays. Military officers moved between stations, speaking in quick human languages that Yuna's translators struggled to keep up with. In the center of the room stood Elder Tay, already examining a display of the galaxy. Admiral Yuna Tay said, "The humans have shown me their military assessments. I believe we may actually survive this." Yuna looked at the displays. They showed swarm movement patterns, fleet positions, and tactical analysis. But they also showed something else. Human military assets. Those numbers cannot be correct, Yuna said. You have over 10,000 warships, 12,417 combat-ready vessels, Hannah replied, plus support ships, supply lines, and ground forces. When the Concord locked us in this sector, they thought they were protecting the galaxy from us. They were actually giving us time to prepare. A door opened, and a tall human man walked in. He wore a different uniform than the soldiers, covered in grease stains and burn marks. His hands were large and calloused. He moved with the confidence of someone who understood machines better than people. This is Engineer Day, Hannah said. He runs our weapons development division. He will explain what we have built. Day nodded at the aliens without any formal greeting. 2 centuries ago, your Concord showed us that the galaxy was dangerous. You demonstrated that larger, more advanced civilizations could crush humanity whenever they wanted. So we made sure that would never happen again. He activated a display showing various weapons systems. Yuna felt cold fear as she understood what she was seeing. Plasma warheads designed to burn at temperatures higher than your ship shields can handle. Kinetic bombardment platforms that can destroy cities from orbit using simple metal rods accelerated to near-light speed. Biogenic weapons engineered to target specific organic compounds. Day pointed to each system as he spoke. This one is my favorite. A self-replicating nanite swarm that eats through whole metal. We call it the Iron Plague, these weapons, Yuna said slowly. Many of them are illegal under Concord law. And I laughed. That rough barking sound again. The Concord is dead, Admiral. Their laws died with them. All that remains is survival. And humans are very, very good at survival. Elder Tay stepped forward. General Hannah, I must ask a direct question. What do you want from us? Surely you do not help refugees out of pure kindness. What is your price? Hannah's expression became serious. We want the same thing we have always wanted. Freedom. For 200 cycles, humanity has been trapped in this sector. We have grown restless. Our young people dream of stars. They are not allowed to visit. Our soldiers train for wars they are not allowed to fight. Your swarm has given us an opportunity. She activated a new display. It showed the current galactic map, with swarm-controlled territory marked in red. Over half the galaxy was already consumed. When we defeat the swarm, and we will defeat them, humanity will no longer accept confinement. We will take our place in the galaxy, not as prisoners, but as equals. Perhaps as leaders. This is our price. Help us win, and we help you survive. After the war, the galaxy will have to accept that humans are here to stay. Yuna exchanged a look with Elder Tay. They had come seeking shelter and found conquerors. But what choice did they have? The swarm would give them nothing but death. We accept your terms, Tay said. We will share all our intelligence on the swarm. We will integrate our remaining scientists with your military. We will help in any way we can. Anna nodded. Good. Then we begin immediately. Captain Jin is already mobilizing the first fleet. Engineer Day's weapons are being loaded onto ships as we speak. Within 40 hours, the Deathworld Armada will launch its first offensive. Offensive? Yuna asked. You are not planning to defend Earth? Earth needs no defense, Hannah said. The swarm cannot survive here. Our atmosphere would poison them. Our gravity would crush them. Our diseases would kill them before they could adapt. Earth is the safest place in the galaxy right now. No, Admiral. We are not defending. We are attacking. We are going to take the fight to the swarm and show them what happens when you threaten a Deathworld species. She turned to face the wall of screens. Thousands of ships were powering up across the solar system. Millions of soldiers were receiving deployment orders. The largest military force in galactic history was waking up. For 200 cycles, humanity has been waiting, Hannah said quietly. Waiting for a chance to prove ourselves. Waiting for an enemy worthy of our strength. Your swarm thinks it is the greatest predator in the universe. They have never met us. Yuna watched the displays with growing amazement. The humans were not afraid. They were not desperate. They were excited. This was what they had been built for. This was what their terrible world had created them to be. Warriors, survivors, monsters of their own kind. General Hannah Yuna said, My people will pray for your success. We have gods of mercy and wisdom that we worship. Hannah smiled that predator smile again. Humans have many gods, Admiral. But in war, we worship only one. Victory. And we will have it no matter the cost. The Deathworld Armada was awake, and the universe would never be the same. The Koroth system was dying. 3 planets had already been consumed by the swarm. The 4th and final world held the last. Survivors of the Koroth species huddled in underground bunkers, waiting for the end. 40 million people watching the sky fill with darkness. Then the humans arrived. The first fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 200 warships, led by Captain Jin aboard the Indomitable. They had traveled for 6 days at maximum speed, pushing their engines beyond safe limits. Crew members had died from the stress. They kept coming anyway. Jin stood on his bridge, watching the swarm on his tactical display. Millions of organisms floated in space, surrounding the Koroth world like a living blanket. Some were small, the size of human fighters. Others were massive, larger than any ship in his fleet. They pulsed with alien life, communicating in ways that no translator could decode. All vessels, this is Captain Jin. The swarm outnumbers us approximately 50 to 1. Standard tactics would tell us to retreat and wait for reinforcements. He paused. Standard tactics are for species that fear death. We are human. We do not retreat. We do not surrender. We kill. Today, we show the galaxy what Deathworlders are made of. All vessels attack. The fleet surged forward. Plasma cannons opened fire, cutting burning lines through swarm clusters. The smaller organisms exploded into fragments. The larger ones turned to face this new threat, confused. They had never encountered prey that fought back this way. The swarm adapted quickly. They always did. Within minutes, they had formed defensive formations and begun counterattacking. Organic projectiles slammed into human ships. Acid sprayed across hulls. Some vessels lost power and drifted, their crews dying in the vacuum. But the humans did not stop. Colonel Ho commanded the ground assault teams. His orders were simple: board the largest swarm organisms and destroy them from within. It was suicide by any reasonable standard. He asked for volunteers anyway. Every single soldier in his unit volunteered. They launched in small boarding craft, flying directly into the mouths of the giant organisms. The swarm tried to destroy them, but humans were fast and unpredictable. They changed direction constantly, using tricks that the hive mind could not anticipate. Ho's craft crashed through the outer membrane of a hive ship. The interior was a nightmare of organic corridors, pulsing walls, and acid pools. The air was toxic. The gravity shifted constantly. The temperature ranged from freezing to boiling within meters. Earth was worse. Move forward, Ho ordered. Find the central nervous cluster and destroy it. Standard demolition pattern. His soldiers advanced through the living ship. They fought through waves of defenders, creatures that looked like nothing from any known biology. Claws and teeth and tentacles came at them from every direction. The humans shot them. When they ran out of ammunition, they used blades. When the blades broke, they used their hands. Sergeant Nari was a combat medic. Her job was to keep soldiers alive long enough to complete the mission. When 3 of her teammates fell to an acid spray attack, she dragged them to cover while firing her weapon with one hand. Her left arm had been burned to the bone. She ignored the pain. "Nari, you need treatment," one soldier shouted. "Treatment comes after victory," she replied. She injected painkillers into her neck and kept moving. The mission was all that mattered. They found the central nervous cluster after 2 hours of fighting. It was a massive brain-like structure, protected by the strongest defenders the swarm could produce. Ho looked at his remaining forces. 12 soldiers out of 50. Most were injured. All were exhausted. "Set the charges," he ordered. "Maximum yield. We leave nothing alive." The soldiers placed explosives around the cluster while fighting off waves of attackers. When the last charge was set, Ho activated the timer. 30 seconds. Everyone out. Move. They ran through collapsing corridors as the hive ship began to die. Acid leaked from walls. The floor buckled and cracked. Nari carried a wounded soldier on her back, her burned arm screaming with every step. The explosion caught them just as they reached the boarding craft. The shock wave threw them against walls. Fire consumed the oxygen in the air. Ho felt his ribs crack from the impact, but they made it. The boarding craft launched just as the hive ship tore itself apart. Around them, similar explosions marked other successful infiltration teams. The swarm's largest organisms were dying, and without their coordination, smaller creatures became confused and disorganized. Captain Jin saw his opportunity. "All vessels, concentrate fire on the remaining clusters. Do not let them reform." The battle lasted another 4 hours. The swarm fought with the desperation of a wounded animal. They threw everything they had at the human fleet. Ships were destroyed. Thousands died. But the humans won. When the last swarm organism stopped moving, the Korath world was still intact. 40 million survivors watched from their bunkers as alien ships flew victory patterns over their sky. Ships that bore the symbol of a species they had never met. Jin opened a channel to the planet below. "People of Korath, this is Captain Jin of the United Nations Space Force. The swarm has been defeated in this system. You are safe. We are sending medical and supply ships now." The response came quickly. Korath voices speaking through tears. "Thank you. Thank you. We do not know who you are, but thank you." "We are human," Jin replied. "We are from Earth, and we are here to help." Korath leader's voice was shaking. "Earth. The Death World. The quarantine zone?" "Yes, the same. The Concord locked us away because they feared us. Perhaps they were right to be afraid, but not of us. Of what we can do to those who threaten innocent lives?" In the aftermath, Sergeant Nari was treated for her wounds. The doctor said she should have died. She had lost too much blood, suffered too much damage. Her heart had stopped twice during surgery. She survived anyway. Humans usually did. When a reporter asked how she had continued fighting with such terrible injuries, Nari looked at him with confusion. "Earth was harder," she said simply. "I grew up in a city where the summer heat could kill you. I survived 3 typhoons before I turned 10. A little acid burn is nothing." The reporter asked if she was afraid of dying. Narn. I thought about it for a moment. "Humans are always afraid," she said. "Fear is part of living. The difference is we fight anyway. We were made by a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned that fear is just another obstacle, and humans overcome obstacles." The news of the Korath victory spread across the galaxy. Refugee fleets, hiding in dark corners of space, heard the transmission and turned toward Earth. The monsters of the quarantine zone were fighting back. The Deathworlders had entered the war, and they were winning. One cycle after the Battle of Korath, Earth had become the center of galactic resistance. 17 species now sheltered under human protection. Ships from 100 different worlds orbited the blue planet, their crews staring in amazement at the death world below. Admiral Yuna stood in the new Joint Command Center, watching refugee fleets arrive every day. The Volari had been first, but others had followed. The Korath, the Miran, the Selkath, species that had once helped confine humanity, now begged for their protection. The humans accepted them all, without question. General Hannah approached her. The small woman looked tired. She had not slept in days. None of the human commanders had. They ran on stimulants and willpower, pushing themselves beyond limits that should have killed them. "Admiral Yuna, we have confirmed intelligence on the swarm's origin point," Hannah said. "A neutron star in the Void Reach sector. They converted it into a breeding nexus. If we destroy it, we cut off their ability to reproduce." Yuna studied the tactical display. The neutron star was surrounded by the largest concentration of swarm organisms ever recorded. Billions of creatures, protected by the most powerful defenses the hive mind could create. "General, this is suicide. No fleet can survive an assault on that position." Hannah smiled. That predator's smile that Yuna had learned to recognize as human confidence. "Suicide is our specialty, Admiral. Humans have been dying for causes since before we discovered fire. The question is not whether we will die. The question is whether we will win first." Combined fleet gathered over the following weeks. Human warships formed the core, but now alien vessels flew alongside them. Velari science ships provided sensor support. Korath fighters offered speed and maneuverability. Miran medical vessels stood ready to treat the wounded. Captain Jin had been promoted to admiral after the Korath victory. He commanded the flagship Humanity's Wrath, the largest warship ever constructed. It was 5 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to destroy a moon. Jin stood on its bridge, looking at the combined fleet around him. "Never thought I would see this," he said to Yuna, who had been given command of the alien contingent. Humans and aliens fighting together. The galaxy united. "Fear of extinction creates strange alliances," Yuna replied. "But I must ask you something, Admiral Jin. When this is over, assuming we survive, what will humans do? Will you seek revenge on the species that confined you?" Jin thought about the question seriously. General Hannah would say we should. She believes humanity was wronged and deserves compensation. But I think differently. Revenge is for species that have nothing better to do. We humans always find something better to do. And what is that? Building, exploring, fighting new threats. The galaxy is vast, Admiral Yuna. There is too much to see and do for us to waste time on old grudges. Besides, he smiled, you aliens are our allies now. Humans do not abandon allies. It is not in our nature. The fleet jumped to the Void Reach sector. What they found was worse than their worst estimates. The neutron star had been completely engulfed by swarm organisms. Organic matter covered its surface, somehow surviving the radiation and gravity that should have destroyed it. Around this breeding nexus, countless organisms swarmed in defensive patterns. All vessels, this is Admiral Jin. What you see before you is the heart of the swarm. If we destroy it, we end this war forever. If we fail, humanity and all allied species will be consumed. There is no middle ground. There is no retreat. Today we fight for the future of all life in this galaxy." He paused, looking at the impossible odds. Then he spoke words that would be remembered for 1,000 years. "All vessels, forward. Today, we teach the universe what a death world really means." The battle was chaos. Swarm organisms attacked from every direction. Ships exploded in the darkness. Crew members died by the thousands. Human vessels rammed directly into enemy formations, detonating their reactors in suicide attacks that took hundreds of swarm creatures with them. Admiral Una commanded her alien contingent with skill and desperation. She had never fought like this before. No Valari had. But the humans had taught her something important. Survival was not about avoiding danger. It was about facing danger and refusing to die. Colonel Ho led boarding teams into the breeding nexus itself. They fought through organic tunnels that tried to crush them, digest them, absorb them. His soldiers died one by one, but they kept advancing. They planted bombs in reproduction chambers. They destroyed feeding tubes and nerve clusters. Sergeant Nari was there too, still fighting despite doctors telling her she needed months of recovery. She carried wounded humans and aliens alike, treating them in the middle of combat. When asked why she risked her life for aliens, she said simply, "They are our people now. Humans protect their people." The battle lasted 72 hours. 72 hours of continuous fighting, with no sleep, no rest, no pause. Ships ran out of ammunition and started ramming enemies physically. Soldiers ran out of energy and kept fighting on pure will, and then finally, Admiral Jin gave the order: detonate the core charges. The neutron star exploded. The breeding nexus, billions of swarm organisms, and a significant portion of the combined fleet vanished in a light brighter than any sun. The shock waves spread across the sector, destroying everything in its path. When the light faded, the swarm was gone. Not retreating. Not regrouping. Gone. The hive mind had been concentrated in the nexus, and without it, the remaining organisms across the galaxy simply stopped functioning. The war was over. 1 month later, General Hannah stood before the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from every surviving species filled the chamber. They looked at the small, scarred human woman with a mixture of fear, gratitude, and respect. "The Void Swarm is defeated," Hannah said. "The galaxy is safe." This victory cost millions of lives, human and alien alike. "We mourn them all." She paused, looking around the room. "For 200 cycles, humanity was confined to our sector. You feared us. Perhaps you were right to fear us. We are violent. We are stubborn. We are dangerous. But we are also loyal. We protect those we call friends. We fight for those we call family. Today, I tell you this. The galaxy is now under human protection. Not because we conquered you. Because you are our friends now. Our family." Elder Tay rose from the Valari delegation. "General Hannah, what do humans ask in return for this protection?" Hannah smiled. Not the predator smile. A different one. Warmer. Almost gentle. We ask for the same thing we have always wanted. A place in this galaxy. Not as prisoners. Not as monsters. As equals. As partners. Earth is a death world, yes? But it is your death world now. And we protect what is ours. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, the Valari began to applaud. The Korath joined them. Then the Mirren, the Selkath, all the others. Applause filled the chamber. Sound of hope and gratitude and new beginnings. Admiral Una stood beside Captain Jin, watching the celebration. "1 cycle ago, I was terrified of your species. Now I cannot imagine the galaxy without you," Jin nodded. "We are still terrifying, Admiral. We are still dangerous. But now you understand something important. Monsters can protect as well as destroy. It depends on who they call friend." Outside the chamber, stars burned in the darkness. A galaxy that had almost died was beginning to heal. And at its center, watching over everything, stood the Deathworld Armada. Ready to protect. ready to fight? Ready to teach the universe that humanity would never be conquered. The galaxy had sought to contain the humans. Instead, they had found their shield, and the darkness would never threaten them again.